Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto News. And today, I think we have a couple of very interesting things to share, as there's just such a huge amount of crypto news that's come out over the last couple of days that I have not shared with you guys yet. As of first, the crypto market is correcting a little bit right now. Hopefully, you guys all were watching the previous video that I made over on YouTube about a day and a half ago or so, where I described the move that's happening exactly right now. I basically explained the bigger picture for Bitcoin is still the upside. We're still there with a bullish narrative, a bullish bias, but on the short term, we could definitely be falling back down to this $45,000 region. And looking at what the price did, it's come back. And I would not say that we've actually gone low enough, or let me say it differently. There is still a little bit of room to go down further before things actually break or things actually get bad. Right now, we actually got the reversal at about 45.5 thousand. Again, following my broader zones, that's again a good retest to bounce up from here. As we could see previously over in December, for example, those were very nice retesting points. But the reason I'm saying we can get a little bit more downside is because on the short term, we were actually facing a lot of resistance at 45,000 exactly. And so that's why I'm saying right now, if we go back to 45,000 and don't actually close below that, there's not really any problem. It's just a retest. It's just that some of these bears trying to basically take your money and trying to either liquidate your trades or hunt your stop losses. And as also described, the worst case in the short term is Bitcoin breaking 45,000, moving all the way to 42. But as it currently stands, it just does not look like it. XRP is in kind of a similar scenario where, again, we expected a retest of this 77-cent zone. I always described to you guys 77.7 cents is my lucky mark for XRP. And right now, we didn't test it exactly. The lowest point we touched here was about 78.0, but it got pretty close. Regarding that, I would say we're not going to actually go below 75 cents unless Bitcoin actually breaks down quite hard. And over on the altcoins, it works a little bit differently. I just basically described to you guys where the majority of the resistance was going to be. Again, I already told you guys I think the entire altcoin market cap will hit $1.2 trillion before coming down a little bit. We hit about 1.24 or so as a highest point. Again, I'm looking at the numbers over here on the top left, or about, I would say as a close about or open 1.215. So we got pretty close with that one too. And again, don't take these words out of context. What I'm basically saying here is a short-term little fall. I've described this for the last two videos before actually getting more gains going, which is why I described we have a bullish bias, but a short-term mix, which is why we didn't do add to the long positions until we get a further bullish breakout basically confirmed. And usually what that will kind of look like is that you get a breakout towards the upside and usually moves a little bit along the lines of this. Once you get to this target zone, basically, it sometimes goes a little bit like this in the target zone before breaking out towards the upside, retesting that zone before, again, breaking out further. And what is most important here is just to define key places that we should retest or that are valid or that are not detrimental, or I should say that are detrimental to the further fall of the price most likely. And I would say that right now that would be most likely around this barrier. This line is so skewed, but you guys get the drift. For VeChain is actually quite perfect because we drew this in a little bit ago. It's actually a 4-hour chart. I'm not exactly sure when we made this, but what we're currently seeing is that VeChain broke out, did really crazy after, again, a initial test. It came back down before retesting, breaking through, and then actually correcting back into it before breaking upwards. That's exactly what I'm basically describing for altcoins and for Bitcoin. A quick retest to set the baseline before hopefully having a crazy breakout with a significant amount of volume. Having said that, I have so much news that I want to go through this in like a rapid pace. So we're not going to sit by every single article for too long. Just go, and hopefully you guys learn a lot from this video. So first of all, Mike Novogratz expects crypto prices to be significantly higher by the end of 2022. Now, hopefully, you've been watching my videos for a little while, and then you'd probably know that whenever I see an article like this, I tell you, take it with a couple of grains of salt, because this guy has a lot of money in crypto. He has a lot riding on crypto. And again, it's the same thing as me, for example, saying cryptos will most likely do well. It's my expectation because it's also in my best interest. And I obviously believe in it. That's why I talk about it every single day. Now, in him, the same sense, he thinks Bitcoin would trade at like $500,000 at some point or another, a couple of years from now. And he's also pretty positive, and he says it wouldn't surprise him if things were to trade higher by the end of the year. Yeah, What is that going to do for us? What is more interesting, though, is that USDC reserves, again, for the stablecoin USDC, obviously, since it's a dollar stablecoin, it needs to be backed by actual dollars. It would apparently be custodied with BNY Mellon, says the company behind USDC, Circle. USDC stablecoin issuer Circle, valued at $9 billion, chooses BNY Mellon as primary custodian for its reserves. That's pretty cool, to actually get a proper Bank of New York Mellon as your primary custodian. It's a pretty big deal. In the past 6 months, Circle seen its valuation double to $9 billion, and the market cap of USDC increased to $51 billion. Their primary purpose is to just keep growing, and the opportunity to work with BNY Mellon is one way we build bridges between traditional financial services and emerging digital asset markets without sacrificing trust. Again, these recent little announcements, these two were new, but they're not necessarily very important on the price. I think this, for Cardano specifically, is a little bit more significant. Cardano, with high soaring on-chain transactions, here's how far ADA can go. So this is actually a question that I get quite often. How much do on-chain metrics matter, or where can the price go? And the questions along that side. At the end of the day, there's no one-to-one correlation, because in theory, there could be only selling pressure, only selling transactions. The price can actually go down if there's actually an increased amount of volume, for example, or an increased amount of transactions as a whole. So it's really hard to determine what exactly can take these prices up or what would be good. If we're talking about DApp usage and the on-chain metrics in that sense, I would say that over longer periods of time, that's definitely what pushes the price. But in the short term, I definitely say it probably doesn't, because if only you get a major partnership or major deal announced, yeah, people will FOMO and they'll buy the rumor, sell the news. But if it's something like here, what is the article actually about? It's even hard to tell. They're just saying that the number of large transactions on the Cardano blockchain increased by an enormous margin, which indicated that there was an increased institutional demand. Well, no, not really. As I described to you, the most important thing for a cryptocurrency is not to actually get more institutional interest, necessarily, because we don't actually know if it's bullish or bearish. That depends. You might say, yeah, but institution is always good. No, because the majority of times when the institutions make money, you lose it. So what I think would be more interesting to measure and to think about is how are the on-chain metrics for Cardano really doing? How's the DApp usage? How is the ecosystem growing? Then again, we have covered that a couple of days ago, and we do know that it's doing pretty well for Cardano. And so from that perspective, how far can ADA go? Well, the sky's the limit, because they're I would say, properly scalable layer one. And, well, even though they're a little bit late to the party, late to the layer one race, they have a lot of room to grow. So I'm very bullish on this. Going on with some more negative news, though, that came out, I think, today somewhere. Yeah, today. European Union outlaws all anonymous crypto transactions involving exchanges. And this, to me, was a very big hit to crypto as a whole. So sender and recipient information for transactions of any size, even with unhosted wallets, now must be verified by European crypto asset providers, service asset providers. European Union today voted in favor of outlawing all anonymous crypto transactions, including from self-hosted wallets, facilitated through exchanges, and this rule will apply to transactions of any size, meaning both payers and recipients of even the smallest digital asset payment must be identified. And again, this is a very scary thing. It's not because I'm against them monitoring large transactions for money laundering, for example. I mean, obviously they have to do their job to make sure that people's money is being kept safe from, for example, fraud or funding of terrorism. But if every single transaction is very heavily reported upon, what I'm starting to think of then is if they, again, they is kind of a vague concept, but if they see some transaction which they don't like, they're going to be able to hold you accountable for making that transaction. If it's just something they didn't really fully like, or you're paying for something that they see and it's like, when in reality, you should be able to do whatever you want with your money, right? So again, that's where the thin line lies. And I checked the comment section of what you guys were saying. You guys were saying it's not about the fact that they get some of this information, because at the end of the day, what can they really do? They can't really block you anyway, right? It's going to be kind of hard to do so. It's about the idea that they're trying to really go intrusive mode, to really get all the data and kind of invade your privacy too much, right? And after reading a lot of you guys' comments, I'm kind of on the same fence as you guys, thinking, man, this actually makes no sense why they would do this. So, for example, one of the guys here, it says, European People's Party, funny enough, the name, voted against them. Such proposals are neither warranted nor proportionate, said EPP economic spokesperson Marcus Ferber in an email to CoinDesk. With this approach of regulating new technologies, the European Union will fall further behind with more open-minded jurisdictions, which at the end of the day is really true. The other party called the latest changes a de facto ban on self-hosted wallets. The only thing I don't fully get though, guys, and again, just this is my own ignorance of just not understanding the new legislation or the new idea, the regulation I should say, is that it's fully against anti-money laundering. And so they're gonna just go over every single transaction over €1,000 and basically have them in their little sector. But are they now going to be able to block more then? Is that the whole premise of this? Or what exactly is the point of this? What exactly are they doing it for? And where exactly does it, like, where does it become really negative for us except for just being a really intrusive thing on our privacy? Are they going to be able to stop more transactions just because you don't know who it is? Because, again, what I've read now is that both parties need to be identified. So does that mean you'll not be able to send it there anymore because it's unidentified? Because that would break my mind. And I'm kind of getting that that's the vibe. Because, again, what it says here, Greg Wohl also pointed out that newly identified or identity verification requirement for unhosted wallets would be nearly impossible to carry out by exchanges. It would require that they collect and retain extensive data from non-customers. At the end of the day, this is literally awful. Most crypto companies won't be able or willing to transact with unhosted wallets anymore in order to stay compliant. Because as far as I understand, right, and again, please let me know down below if I'm wrong, but what it kind of says now, as far as I understand, if you want to transact your ledger, you need to really fully let the exchange know that that is your ledger with your identity just bricked into the asshole of the ledger. Same thing for your MetaMask. You have to completely dox yourself in any way, shape, or form. Where I'm thinking, well, what if you're just trying to take some, like you have some money in your Binance, for example. You want to pay somebody. Binance, for example. Literally, let me think about it like this. Let's say you want to pay somebody with your, how does it work for the Binance card? How does that even work then? If you don't, I guess those guys are doxed fully. Yeah, I guess, because I'm thinking, how else would this not work? Let's say you want to pay for something and you want to send them some crypto, right? Which is what a lot of exchanges are trying to push to the edge. All of a sudden now, you need to know the exact identity of everybody you want to transact something with. Let's say you find a couple guys at the bar and they're like, whoa, just pay me in some crypto, right? You're like, oh, sorry, sir, but I need your I need your full identity. Every single detail I need your birth certificate. Then again, let us see how this pulls through. I'm a little bit afraid. I'm not exactly sure what I should do now either, because even though I do not live in Europe, I kind of wonder how far they're going to take this. And does this basically mean that everybody who has a European account or so will be, but we'll see in a couple of days how this rolls out, guys, because I'm still thinking maybe I'm being too negative, but I think this is just fully approved already now. It's going to start pretty quickly here, and this is a very scary thing. Talking on the topic of scary things, WeChat banning multiple accounts associated with NFT trading. I can kind of get this one a little bit more though, because the NFT trading is a very risky thing, and so I'm guessing there's also a lot of scams in that sense, so it's a little bit more appropriate. Then again, if it's just, for example, a group who talk about trading something, not exactly sure that should have been banned, but hey, it is WeChat. So I'm just here to report quickly on you guys. It says here, WeChat goes hard against NFT promotion. Just letting you guys know that it's happening. I can't really say if it's good or bad or exactly anything else, except for the fact that it's happening. Moving on, and this was pretty cool to me. Luna poised to moon as Terra's Do Kwon vows to become world's biggest Bitcoin holder besides Satoshi. We all know Satoshi has 1 million Bitcoin. Terra has now got an additional 3,000. Not exactly sure how much they have in total. The total stash here is 31,000 Bitcoin-ish. Notably, the LFG has not sold a single Satoshi and has effectively surpassed the initial target of $1 billion. They're going to go for $10 billion in the short term. But they want to get this to, I guess, 1 million or whatever, something along those lines, which is going to be really interesting. But even more interesting is the fact they want to become the biggest holder. And as I described before, if they want to do that and hold it as reserves, eventually these Bitcoin will become illiquid. And as I described before as well, we have so many millions of Bitcoin right now that it can never or will never be moved anymore. I swear this whole scarcity thing is going to really kick in hard. Regarding the lawsuit, a lot of you guys said, Dusty, only cover these lawsuit updates if there's something very significant to cover. For example, one thing happened a couple days ago that I didn't even put in a video because I partially forgot. I had a whole video lined up, but then I was not feeling it. And as I said to you guys, I make these videos purely for fun because I enjoy all this stuff, or the journey, I guess, and explain to you guys what's going on. So if I don't feel like it, I won't make something. Unless, of course, it's groundbreaking. If it's really important, I'm gonna, man, if I'm in my coffin, I'll get back out of there to give you guys the update. Don't worry about that. But what happened was just a very small little update. Ripple's request for extra time regarding the redacted documents was granted in a text-only order. SEC is directed to produce the redacted documents for defendant's assessment by March 30th. Defendant's response is due April 4th. So it's just a little update that Ripple got approved on the extra time, and that is it. So I'll not say that this is a major victory. It's just a request for some extra time, which usually is granted. So then this was actually pretty big news. So Shiba, of course, we already talked about this before. I've been teasing us for a little while. Well, what exactly we're going to do. We already expected it was going to be a Metaverse announcement. Again, it was said on the 29th that they have something big coming up the day afterwards. In hindsight, it again was the Metaverse announcement. So they basically said, wow, we're going to go for a Metaverse. We're happy to welcome you to Shiba, the Metaverse, an immersive experience that is positioned to become a massive environment for Sheep Army to grow, share, and benefit together. That's a pretty big deal. I kind of am interested to see how this is going to grow on, because I do believe that Metaverse and meme coins, they're on a pretty similar level. And I'm also thinking maybe there's going to be an interesting NFT drop for Shiba stuff. Maybe there's already been and I kind of didn't know about it. Could be. But if it's kind of similar to Ape in some sense, but then kind of like the reverse manner, because with Ape, they went for the NFTs first and then the coin. In this case, it might be they have the sheep coin, but they're now going to go for the NFTs, and then that will allow you to get into more NFT drops. We'll see. But it's an interesting thing to think about. Again, it was said everywhere. Wow, major announcement in 24 hours. Wow. Well, we already knew what was going to happen, so it wasn't that major, but hey, it's nice. Let me know down below, actually, are you guys like a fan of degenerate coins, or do you not go for them at all? I just kind of want to gauge here if a lot of you guys are just serious crypto people, or the ones that like to make money here and there with the degenerate picks every now and then. Because I'm mostly covering only like top, you guys know it, like the top 30 coins or so. But every here and there, whenever there's some news or some shit on some garbage, I mean, I'm not against it, depending on how juicy I think it might go. Having said that, Lionel Messi signs a $20 million deal with crypto firm Socios to promote digital fan tokens. Don't know too much about that. I just wanted to let you guys know that fan tokens are something to as well look into a little bit. I described to you guys before how there's most likely going to be waves of crypto where first there was the DeFi boom, and then there was basically the NFT boom or so. It might be that at one point or another, the fan token realm or content creation sort of token NFT realm is really going to pop off, and it might already be happening here as we're seeing major and bigger sponsorships for these bigger celebrities with crypto things. But it could be that eventually there's going to be a really big thing. Just some news that was already widely spread but still wanted to cover. Dubai's cool to accept tuition fees in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Just a nice little announcement. I know for a fact that here in Dubai you can actually buy a lot of properties with crypto, and at the end of the day, I can do anything. I can literally rent this house, for example, with my Binance card or Crypto.com card. So you can always, and even CZ said it on stage a couple of days ago at the Binance Blockchain Week. You can kind of do anything with crypto already with a card that just makes the other party accept the actual fiat when you spend crypto. To me, that's just basically how I've gone through these things nowadays. A little side note, Ukraine crypto donations have surpassed $100 million. It's going really heavily. Apparently, Bitcoin will addresses are also going crazy right now. Bitcoin's amount of key will addresses have increased significantly this past month since the war began. I described to you guys before how this does not necessarily matter. This is from about March of 2021, so it's basically the span of about a year. Declining number of will addresses between 100 and 10,000 addresses caused major volatility. 100 to 1,000 addresses growing helped fuel all-time high levels in October and November. And then afterwards, declining number of will addresses between 100 and 10,000 addresses caused swift drop from the November all-time high levels, with green here being the price, purple being the 100 to 1,000 Bitcoin, and then the red one being 1,000 to 10,000 Bitcoin. But I'm finding it pretty hard looking at this information here to deduce anything from this, or I'm not exactly sure if we can not just say that this is quite logical, because, for example, this entire time span here over July and September, the Bitcoin price was going up, but the addresses were going down. So, yeah, what can you do with this information? It's hard. Maybe you guys can fetch something out of this that I can't. A little other fun fact, Ripple co-founder warned Bitcoin will lose investor support until it becomes more eco-friendly. We talked about this before, and it's actually a thing that is becoming more and more apparent every single week, I would say. The pressure for Bitcoin to change over from proof of work, and I still wonder if they're eventually going to go to something like a proof of stake or just something, or what. what's going to happen? Chris Larson, co-founder and chairman of the board of Ripple, is kind of urging that. There was an article here, but for some reason I cannot open CoinDesk over in Dubai, so then I need to use a VPN, and I was too lazy to turn it on. But I found the same article here over on Crypto Panic, and it basically read, Hedera, newly EVM compatible Who's DeFi with 155 million HBAR fund or dollar HBAR fund. Network wants to attract decentralized finance projects in a shift towards retail traders. It's just Hedera making some nice moves. And again, the majority of people that I've seen react to this, even on Reddit, for example, are actually very bullish and very happy on the matter. Mostly because you got to remember, HBAR has this little narrative of being really enterprise focused, so this more retail DeFi scheme really wasn't that big a deal before. Right now it's starting to pop off as well, which is really nice for HBAR. And then one more article, Polygon blockchain. I believe based in India. Not sure about that 100%, but I know the founders are from at least from India or that region. Polygon blockchain leveraged by Indian state to issue 65,000 caste certificates. Over 65,000 caste certificates have been issued on the Polygon network by the Maharashtra government. And all I wanted to say about that is just Polygon is being used for state purposes a little bit more. Before, we also heard of them being used as the official blockchain platform for the Swiss city of Lugano. But this is just a nice additional thing to see. And again, Polygon has been under a lot of stress recently since the outages, but they're doing pretty well. They're doing pretty damn well for themselves. So that was it for today's news, guys. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. It was a pretty long episode, maybe because I had to kind of get all this news in from the last couple of days that was very important. If I missed something, it'll most likely be covered in tomorrow's episode, as there's a lot of stuff coming up. Tomorrow, most likely 3 episodes or whatever news is relevant at that point. And I'll see you guys again, hopefully with my normal schedule again from tomorrow, in another episode pretty soon.